soul to soul, soul to soul.
If clouds remains in the eyes, water will fall from your eyes. Welcome to the show, Shoal to Shoal Talk Show. Today we have brother Wesley from Australia with us. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you.
Please tell us about your country.
My country?
Yeah.
What would you like to know specifically?
You are from?
Australia.
When?
Okay. Should I tell you about where I grew up?
Yeah.
Okay. So I came from Brisbane, and it's a Western society. It's a developed nation, and I guess from a spiritual perspective, there are a lot of people that I would say are not spiritual. A lot of scientifically minded people, atheists, people who don't follow religions or any sort of spiritual belief system. So quite different to India, I think.
Were you an atheist?
No, it's atheism for me has never seemed logical. It doesn't make sense to I mean it to me it's always been just another belief system to so definitively decide that there is no God, based on what? I'm not sure.
What belief systems do you have?
I can't give it a label, but I think like a lot of free spirits, I've kind of always just kept an open mind to different belief systems and then just pulled things that make sense to me, that resonate with me, and taken those on board, and then keep looking at the next belief system and going from there.
Were you very religious minded?
No, there was always something about religion that repulsed me or just didn't sit well with me, about the ritualistic nature of it, or the dogma, or just the amount of, I'll call it blind faith. So I've always been somebody that I've always followed things logically. So if it was something that I couldn't experience, then it didn't really make sense for me to just blindly take it on board or to follow it.
Tell us something about your lifestyle.
My lifestyle? Well, I'm not heavily involved in sports. I like to play tennis, and that's about it. I would probably say I'm more academic or introspective than anything else. So I do like to read, but I also like to think about things and discuss ideas with people.
What kind of books do you use to read?
A lot of variety. I like reading about science, so things that are related to science. But I think my favourite kinds of books to read would be books about mathematics, textbooks.
Okay.
And second to that would be fantasy novels. So, see, I have a short attention span, so I read, but I can't read for very long periods. So I like to read about science, but at the same time, I don't have the attention span to read it for great lengths of time. Whereas fantasy novels are good because they take you somewhere else. But mathematics is just even more interesting because just the numbers, they speak secrets sometimes, and it's very fascinating.
Were you very logical from your childhood days?
I think from my young childhood, I wasn't. I was very emotional and very, very reactive and sort of impulsive. But I think once I hit probably adolescence or my teenage years, logic started to become started to weigh very heavily for me in all the decisions I made and the way I thought about things and approached problems and people.
Were you addicted to something?
Like a substance? No.
No?
No, I wasn't. I guess addicted to that kind of internal search for truth or for peace of mind.
Do you really think so that money can give you peace?
No. Money doesn't equal wealth. I think wealth comes about when you have the right mindset. So what I'm trying to say is, obviously you can't find peace in material things, but you can find peace, or you can get closer to peace when you do service for others, or when you do those sort of acts that are in line with your true nature. And so money can be a tool for that. It can be a tool for people who may not have the right, or may not be spiritually developed, and they may still be living in a very materialistic state of mind. But money can be used to, I guess, ease suffering of people who still have that dependency on material things, whether it's the basic necessities of life. Yeah.
Did you have a fear of God?
No. Even to this day, I still don't really understand how one can have a fear of God. It doesn't seem logical to me. So maybe you can explain that to me.
What kind of belief systems you have?
I would say I don't have a religious background, but I have a Hindu background. So a lot of my belief system is based on my interpretation of some of the core teachings in that. So, and I've been like that for many, many years. So, do you want me to go into detail? Do you want me to list off things that comprise my belief system?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so cyclic time, reincarnation, I guess this idea of devolution over time.
Did you believe in a reincarnation?
Yeah, reincarnation was something that I obviously first learned about in Hinduism and Buddhism, but it's kind of always made sense to me. Like, there's always just been something elegant about it, or something cohesive about it that kind of makes sense. It wouldn't, I mean, cyclic time wouldn't make much sense without reincarnation. And devolution or evolution or spiritual growth wouldn't really make sense without reincarnation.
You have a thirst of knowledge, so do you really think so where it ends?
Do I think it will end? Yeah, I think at some point it will end. So, I mean, I think deep down we're all kind of we're all asking the same question. And at some point we find an answer that resonates with us and sits well with us. So I do like to think at some point that search, or that feeling of having an unanswered question, comes to an end.
Do you believe in Hinduism? So Do you think that there are so many gods?
Well, before coming to Brahma Kumaris, yes, definitely, I think. But there was something about it that didn't quite sit just right with me. There was all the fervent devotion that I saw, and all the rituals and all the mantras. There was something about it all that felt not quite right. So I guess I believed that at some point they existed, or that they do currently exist. I don't believe they exist now. But I didn't really believe in the idea of what's the word, like effortful worship in order to be given a boon or a blessing, or to be bestowed with powers or anything along that line. I always thought that despite the existence of deities or gods, the responsibility still ultimately fell upon the individual themselves.
What form of God do you have in your mind?
I guess similar attributes as what we're taught now in Brahma Kumaris. So all those positive qualities. Although I won't go into those details because I think you'll know what I'm referring to.
Come to Brahma Kumaris.
For me, it was, well, the first time I was exposed to Brahma Kumaris was through a class held by Brother Lee. And I was, in that first class, he did a guided meditation. So I had an experience through that meditation. But afterwards as well, he gave a talk or a discussion for about an hour, and my intellect was just drawn to it. I was very intoxicated by the sort of discussion that went on there. And so that brought me back again and again. And then from then on, I came to learn more about the whole world of Brahma Kumaris.
What kind of experience was it?
It was a light bulb moment, or a realization, or maybe a remembrance that there is something different. That's something different within myself. There is something different within myself compared to what I previously thought of myself. So I guess in retrospect now, what I'm probably referring to is the distinction between mind and soul. So I guess at that time I wouldn't have used those words, but definitely that was it. It was just the realization that I'm not who I thought I was, and that there's something more peaceful there.
Were you in a search of God?
No, I was searching for my true self, because at the time I always believed there was a God or a higher power or a supreme soul, but I didn't think we needed to depend on it. I thought that we could reach enlightenment just by focusing on ourselves, looking inwards and just focusing on that. So yeah, really I was just I was looking for the knowledge or the methodologies for me to discover and embed that understanding within myself of who I was and what my true nature was.
Is this search that who am I is finished?
No, I think it would be arrogant for me to say that it's finished. And because I think there's always a deeper level of understanding. So when you think you've realised who or what you are, you may be right, but there may be other subtleties that you haven't come to identify or understand yet. So the search continues.
What made you to come to India?
It's been a long time coming. So it's always been on the to-do list. And there wasn't anything in particular that made me come this year instead of last year or next year. So I guess for me, I wanted to, well, I've actually got an Indian background. So for me, I wanted to come back and see the motherland.
What kind of Indian background you have?
On my mother's side, she's not actually an Indian, she's a Fijian Indian. So she's a Fijian-born Indian. Her great-grandmother, I think, originally came from India, somewhere in UP.
So please tell us about your academic life.
Yep, from my childhood until now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think personally, in primary school, I was nothing special. So I did well, but I don't think I ever was ahead of the crowd by a lot. So it wasn't until probably midway through high school, about the age of 14 or 15, that I think I started to really put a lot of effort into my academic life, and as a result my grades excelled. So from that point onward I did begin to top a lot of my subjects, and I steadily improved as the years went and as I got closer to graduation, and so I hit a nice little peak right before graduating and topped all of my subjects. I was always more drawn to the science and the mathematics subjects as opposed to the humanities and the history and the art and the music. So I've always had an analytical brain. After graduating high school, I went to university and didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I just enrolled myself in engineering and just kind of stumbled through, and it took me a couple of years before I developed a real sense of purpose in what I was studying and where I wanted to take it in my life. And so I did engineering for 5 years, graduated with a master's in chemical engineering, and that was only last year.
How did you got inclined towards spirituality?
I think I've always had that sort of that internal pull towards it. Like when I grew up, I had people around me that seemed to they gravitated towards academic sort of intellectual sort of things, and gave no value, put no value on spirituality, and to me that never made sense. I always thought that the two had to come hand in hand. So I don't know what it was that exactly brought it into my life or pulled me towards it, but I guess I've just always had that pull, that there's something there that needs to be learnt and that needs to be incorporated into one's life.
How did your life change after coming to the Brahma Kumaris?
Well, I guess the biggest change was finally coming to some sort of understanding or agreement internally on what I am and on the nature of God or the Supreme Soul, and even on the time cycle or the timeline of the universe and the nature of the universe, how it all works. And so from there it's been a good sense of of closure, or kind of coming to a good grounding from which I can grow in a way that feels meaningful and not artificial. So it's from that I've definitely been able to, you know, cultivate all those sorts of habits and all those beliefs and practices that that a good BK should practice.
Would you like to come India again?
Yes, and specifically back to Madhuban. So definitely next year. I'll definitely be taking annual leave from work and coming back here. Not just Madhuban, actually. I do want to explore the rest of India, and also Sri Lanka. But yes.
Where did you find yourself 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I think fundamentally, I really want to be in a position where I'm able to help other people in whatever form plays to my strengths. So I don't yet know exactly what that will translate to, how exactly I will help people, whether it's through spiritual teaching or material help, providing shelter for people, or donations, or philanthropy, or something else. But that's...
How Madhuban is different from the world?
Madhuban has it's got has a tranquility about it. The way it seems to integrate with nature and the surroundings. I guess that's on the material level. On the spiritual level, it's definitely got a vibration about it that gives me this feeling of this is the right place to be. This is where I should be in order to return home one day. And you know, because and I guess on the material level again, it's a family of souls that are reawakening and working together to carry out the rest of this drama.
Do you think so India is a motherland?
I don't know if I have a motherland. I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen the rest of the world, and if I had to pick a place, I think India would be somewhere in the top. But for now, it may sound strange, but I see my motherland as kind of within here. Or maybe within here.
Thank you for giving your valuable time with us.
Thank you for your time.